Hi all, welcome back to C++ tutorial on Tooth Fulcrum. This session is on the default arguments in C++ programming language. So what is a default argument? A default argument is a value that is provided in the function declaration that is automatically assigned by the compiler if the caller of the function doesn't provide a value for the argument with a default value. Okay, let's take an example and understand this concept in detail. Let's take a function sum that is returning an integer and it's going to work with 4 arguments and the arguments are all of the type int. So this is the prototype or the declaration of the function. So here within the main, I am invoking the sum function by passing 4 arguments, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is the function definition that is returning the sum of its arguments. So if you invoke this function, the argument 1 will be received by A, 2 will be received by B, 3 will be received by C and 4 will be received by D. So invoking this function returns A plus B plus C plus D, that is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 will be returned and will be received to the variable S. So if you print the value of S, the output of this program will be sum is equal to 10. So let's check the output first. So as expected, it is giving you the output as sum is equal to 10. Now let me modify this program slightly. So as per the prototype and definition of the function, it is working with 4 arguments. So what if I cut down few arguments when I call the function? So what is happening here? I am calling the function by passing only 2 arguments, but as per the definition, there are 4 arguments that my function is going to work with. Let's see what the output of this code, how this code is going to behave if we are calling the function by passing fewer number of arguments. So here you can see if you run the code, you will end up with an error. So what is the error here? You could read the error message here. Too few arguments to function int sum that is taking 4 arguments. So it is very clear that you cannot invoke a function by passing fewer number of arguments. So here comes the importance of the default argument concept. If you have worked with default argument here, you could have come out of this error. So default argument is provided when you call the function by passing fewer number of arguments. In such a case, the compiler will automatically assign the default value to the function and this error would have been fixed. So let's see how default argument concept is applied here. The default arguments should be provided in the function declaration or the prototype of the function. So here we are giving 2 arguments. So the left out is 2. So that 2 arguments has to be provided as the default arguments. So according to this scenario, we will be providing 2 default arguments. The next point is default arguments has to be provided from right to left. So I'll start from this parameter. So the default arguments, let's say name it as D and let me assign a default value to this. So now D here is a default argument and the default value that I have given is 0. So you can provide any value. It's not necessary that you have to provide a 0 always. Now we are left out with one more argument. So let me give one more default value. So C here is also a default argument and I have provided it with a value of 0. So I repeat, you can give any value here. It's not necessary to keep 0 as the default value. So now let's run the code and check how this code is going to behave. So now as said, you could see the error is fixed. The output is sum is equal to 3. So how did this happen? So here you are calling the function by passing only 2 arguments. Only 1 and 2 is passed. So 1 will be received by A and 2 will be received by B. C and D, you are not providing any values. So here, if you are providing the default arguments, the compiler will automatically work with the default values. So here, yes, we have used the default values C and D as default arguments. So when you invoke the function, the compiler will automatically provide 0 and 0 to the arguments C and D. So if you call this function, it works with the value of, or it returns A plus B plus C plus D. That is, A has a value of 1, B has a value of 2, C has a value of 0, which is our default value, and again D has a value of 0. So it returns 1 plus 2 plus 0 plus 0. So this is how the default argument works here, and you have the privilege of calling the function with fewer number of arguments, making use of the default argument concept. You can work with any number of default values. Suppose if you want to make this also as a default value, you can provide the same. Let me use a default value as 4. So here you have the privilege of calling the function by passing only one value. So if this was the case, your output would have been 1 plus 4 plus 0 plus 0. So here the output will be 5. You can make all the arguments also as the default value. This is also possible. What if this was the case? You have specified A, B, C and D as the default values. At the same time, when you invoke the function, you are giving the values 1, 2, 3 and 4 is provided. So if this is the case, the compiler doesn't make use of the default values. Whatever value is provided by the user, that will be taken. So if you run this code, it will work with, it will return 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. It will not go for the default values because the user has already provided the values. The default arguments comes into role if the user is not providing the value when he or she is invoking the function. And it's important to note that the default values should always be assigned from the right to the left. That is, you cannot have a case like this. That is, you have skipped the rightmost parameter and you have made the rest of the parameters as the default values. If you run this code, this will end up with an error because you have not started assigning the default values from right to left. So let's run the code and check the output. So you could see the error message here, default argument missing for parameter 4 of int sum, int comma, int comma, int comma, int. So it's very clear that the default argument has to be assigned from the right to the left. So this is about the default argument concept in C++ programming language. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe. And please don't forget to tap the bell icon. You'll get notified whenever we upload a new videos. Keep watching. Thank you.